The last voice message she never sent. A voice message should feel personal, temporary, small, just another piece of everyday life, floating through a phone speaker for a few seconds before disappearing forever. That's what makes this story unsettling, because the message was never supposed to exist. And according to everyone involved, it was never recorded. Welcome to the dark chapter. Tonight's story is about one of the strangest kinds of modern horror. A voice message that appeared after someone disappeared. Not creepy edits, not fake paranormal noises, not distorted screams hidden in static. Just a normal message, sent from the phone of a woman who had already been gone for 3 days. At first, nobody treated the situation like a mystery, because disappearances don't immediately feel unreal. At least not in the beginning. In the beginning they feel administrative. Phone calls, police reports, friends checking social media, family members trying to stay calm while pretending not to panic. People convince themselves there must be an explanation. Maybe the person needed space. Maybe their phone died. Maybe they simply wanted to disappear for a while. The brain always reaches for the safest explanation first. That instinct protects people from fear, but sometimes it also delays it. And in this case, the delay made everything worse. Her name was Lena, 27 years old, quiet, private, the kind of person who answered messages late, but eventually answered them. That detail became important later, because when someone behaves consistently for years, even tiny changes become noticeable. And according to the people closest to her, Lena never vanished emotionally before she vanished physically. There was no dramatic goodbye, no online breakdown, no final post filled with hidden meaning. Nothing like that. One day she simply stopped responding. At first it didn't feel serious. People disappear into life all the time, especially online. A missed message becomes two, to become a week, and eventually the silence starts feeling heavier than it should. That was the point where concern finally started replacing denial. Her phone went directly to voicemail. Her apartment remained locked. No activity on her bank account. No social media logins. No ride-share history. No confirmed sightings. Nothing. And the longer the silence lasted, the stranger it became. Because total disappearance is rare now. Modern life leaves traces everywhere. Cards, cameras, notifications, GPS signals. Even people trying to disappear will leave behind fragments. But Lena didn't. It was as if her entire digital footprint had frozen mid-step. And then the voice message arrived. It appeared at exactly 2:17 in the morning, sent to her closest friend Maya. The notification looked completely normal. No strange symbols. No corrupted file, no unknown number, just Lena's contact photo, Lena's name, and a voice message timestamped only seconds earlier. At first Maya thought it was delayed audio, maybe bad signal, maybe some upload bug finally pushed an old message through. That happens sometimes. Apps fail, servers lag, technology creates strange little ghosts all the time. So she pressed play expecting something ordinary, maybe an apology. Maybe an explanation. Maybe Lena drunkenly asking for help somewhere. Instead, the message began with breathing, very soft, very close to the microphone. Not panicked, not crying, just breathing. Then silence. Several long seconds of silence. And then Lena whispered something so quietly Maya almost missed it. She's still here. That was all. The message ended immediately afterward. No explanation, no background noise, no second voice. Nothing, just those 3 words. She's still here. The message lasted 11 seconds total, and for a while nobody knew what to do with it, because fear doesn't arrive instantly when something strange happens. Sometimes confusion arrives first. The brain stalls. It searches desperately for ordinary logic before accepting something disturbing. Maya replayed the message repeatedly, trying to understand what she had heard. The voice sounded exhausted. Not terrified, not rushed, just tired, like someone whispering, because they didn't want another person to hear them. That details stayed in Mayar's mind more than the actual sentence. The quietness, the restraint, the feeling that Lena was hiding nearby while recording it. And once that idea entered her head, the message became impossible to hear normally again. The police examined the audio later, but technology can only answer certain questions. Yes, the recording came from Lena's phone. Yes, the timestamp appeared legitimate. Yes, the app logs confirmed it was uploaded naturally. But that only deepened the problem, because according to the investigation, Lena's phone had never reconnected to any network after the night she disappeared, which meant one of two things had to be true. Either the logs were wrong, or the phone had briefly come back online, somewhere unknown before vanishing again. Neither explanation felt comforting, especially after people began noticing details hidden inside the audio. The first person to point it out was someone online. That's usually how internet horror evolves now. A single strange detail gets posted publicly. Then thousands of strangers begin dissecting it frame by frame. Waveforms, compression artifacts, background frequencies. Every tiny sound becomes evidence. Most of the time this process creates false patterns. People hear what they want to hear. But sometimes it uncovers things nobody noticed originally. One listener isolated the background noise beneath Lena's breathing. At first it sounded meaningless, just low static, maybe room tone, but after heavy filtering another sound emerged underneath. Footsteps, very faint, slow, consistent, not approaching, not leaving, just pacing, back and forth, back and forth. The discovery changed the atmosphere surrounding the message instantly. Now the recording no longer felt empty. Now it felt occupied. And once listeners imagined another person inside that silence, the entire message transformed psychologically. Because horror grows fastest inside ambiguity. The human brain fears incomplete information or than obvious danger. A monster clearly visible becomes manageable, but uncertainty spreads. It contaminates imagination, and this message contained almost nothing except uncertainty. Who was she? Why was Lena whispering? Why did the footsteps sound calm? And most importantly, who was moving around in the room while she recorded the message? That question infected everything afterward, especially once people began examining Lena's final known movements before disappearing. The last confirmed sighting came from a grocery store security camera. Nothing unusual. She bought bottled water, instant noodles, tea, normal things. But one detail stood out later. Several times during checkout, she looked behind her, not casually, not distracted, carefully, like someone repeatedly checking whether another person was nearby. At the time nobody noticed. Now the footage felt completely different. That's another disturbing thing about disappearances. The past rewrites itself afterward. Ordinary moments become loaded with meaning once people know how the story ends. Every glance feels suspicious. Every hesitation feels deliberate. Every silence becomes evidence. And eventually, the person stops feeling human in memory. They become a puzzle instead. 3 days after the message appeared, something even stranger happened. Maya received another notification from Lena's account. This time it wasn't audio. It was location sharing, active for only 9 seconds. The map loaded briefly before disconnecting again. But 9 seconds was enough. Because Maya took a screenshot immediately, the location pointed toward an apartment complex nearly 40 minutes outside the city. Old building, mostly abandoned, half the units empty due to water damage years earlier. The kind of place people forgot existed. Police searched the building the following afternoon. Most apartments were empty. Rotting furniture, dust, broken windows, nothing unusual, until officers reached Unit 14. The door was unlocked. Inside they found signs. Someone had been living there recently. Bottled water, blankets, chargers, canned food. But no Lena, no phone, no fingerprints clear enough to identify anyone. Only one detail deeply unsettled investigators. A second phone charger was plugged beside the bed, meaning whoever stayed there probably wasn't alone. That discovery transformed the case overnight. Because now the voice message no longer felt abstract. Now there was a physical location connected to it. A real room, a real apartment, a real possibility that Lena recorded the message while hiding from someone inside that building. But the deeper investigator searched, the stranger things became. One officer later admitted something privately that was never included officially in reports. According to him, while searching apartment 14, he heard movement in the hallway outside, slow footsteps, pacing, back and forth, back and forth. At first he assumed another officer was nearby, but when he checked, the hallway was empty. He never reported it formally because he knew how it sounded. Still, the detail haunted him afterward, because the pacing sounded identical to the footsteps, isolated from Lena's recording, same rhythm, same speed, same pattern, and once he realized that, he stopped listening to the audio completely. Internet stories become dangerous once communities form around them. Because obsession spread socially, forums appeared discussing the message. People analyzed waveforms for hidden voices. Others searched the abandoned complex online. Some even visited the building themselves, hoping to experience something strange. That's the internet's darkest instinct. The urge to walk toward mystery is never away from it, especially when the mystery feels unfinished. One group claimed apartment 14 contained strange acoustic properties. Another insisted hidden frequencies existed inside the message. Some believed Lena was hiding voluntarily. Others thought someone else had been controlling her phone after her disappearance. But the most disturbing theory focused on the sentence itself. She's still here. Not I'm still here. Not help me. Not someone is here. She's still here. The wording implied continuation, persistence, as if Maya was already supposed to understand who she referred to. But according to Maya, Lena never mentioned anyone frightening before disappearing. No stalker, no abusive ex, no paranoid behavior, nothing, which somehow made the message worse. Because if Lena wasn't referring to someone already known, then who was she talking about? Weeks passed without answers. Public attention slowly faded. That always happens eventually. The internet consumes mysteries quickly, but forgets them even faster. And maybe the story would have died there, except for one final detail. Months later, a data recovery specialist examined Lena's phone backups stored in cloud archives. Most deleted files were corrupted beyond repair, except one fragment, an unfinished audio recording dated hours before the final message. The recovered clip lasted only 7 seconds. No voice, no speaking, only room noise, and footsteps, slow-pacing footsteps moving somewhere nearby. Then at the very end, a second sound appeared, very faint, a woman humming softly to herself. The specialist almost missed it entirely, but once isolated, the humming became impossible to ignore. Because according to Maya, Lena had a habit when nervous. She hummed quietly under her breath without realizing it, which meant the humming likely belonged to Lena herself. And if Lena was humming in the room, then who was whispering in the final message? That discovery changed everything one last time, because now there were potentially 2 women inside the apartment during the recordings. One humming, one whispering, one moving, one hiding, and suddenly the sentence sounded different. She's still here. Not a warning about another person. Maybe a statement about Lena herself. Maybe the whisper didn't belong to Lena at all. Maybe someone else recorded the final message after she disappeared. That possibility spread online rapidly because it poisoned the entire story retroactively. Every assumption collapsed instantly. The breathing, the pacing, the silence, none of it belonged securely to anyone anymore. And uncertainty like that creates a specific kind of horror. Not fear of violence, fear of absence. The terrifying realization that identity itself has become unstable. That voices inside phones can outlive context, outlive certainty, even outlive people. Maybe there's a normal explanation. Maybe corrupted timestamps and fragmented recordings created a false narrative. Maybe stress caused listeners to imagine patterns that never existed. That happens constantly online. But disturbing stories rarely survive because they're proven true. They survive because they feel psychologically unfinished. And this story still feels unfinished, because somewhere inside an 11-second recording, there's still a woman whispering quietly. into a phone beside someone pacing in darkness, and nobody knows which voice belonged to Lena. That's what makes voice messages uniquely unsettling. Unlike photographs or videos, voices feel intimate, human, alive. A voice enters your head directly, and once you hear fear inside someone's breathing, your brain remembers it differently than images. That's why deleted voicemails disturb people so deeply. They feel less like evidence and more like echoes, tiny pieces of presence surviving after the person themselves has vanished. So if you ever receive a message late at night from someone who shouldn't be able to send one, think carefully before pressing play, because sometimes the most disturbing thing isn't hearing a familiar voice again. It's realizing the voice might not belong to the person you think it does. This was the dark chapter. If you want more disturbing mysteries, psychological horror, and stories that blur the line between technology and fear, subscribe and step carefully into the next chapter, because sometimes the scariest messages are the ones never meant to be heard.